Amanda. Sanibonani nonke. Igama lami nguThato. Wakamasiyamako. Ngibuya Setswana, angisazi Zulu. So so we're here to discuss the violent political repression that eKhanana has been experiencing since its formation in 2018. When the lockdown started, I think some of us can all remember how there was a moratorium on evictions that was put in place. But eKhanana was one of those places in the country, one of the informal settlements that didn't get a break from evictions. And so that has continued since eKhanana's formation. Lindo will speak more about it. But their story has been of struggle, of fighting for a place to stay, for recognition, and what all of us want, just a roof over our heads and the ability to live safely in your home. But I just want to maybe, as we think about this conversation, and I'll hand over to my speakers shortly. But in 2017, Abahlali participated in the Moerane Commission, right? It was a commission of inquiry that was established specifically to look into political killings in KZN. And the report made a number of findings that affirmed a lot of what Abahlali was sharing at the commission about the violence that they've been experiencing since their formation. Picking up mainly from 2009. Some of those things included that state institutions are manipulated by politicians for political ends, that there were weaknesses in the criminal justice system and state security apparatus, and that language used by politicians can be provocative and incite violence. These are some of the findings that the report made. Maybe I'll read this quote later, but there was a commission of inquiry that said, and I'm sure we know that there's been a task team that's been established to look into political killings. But Abahlali maybe can tell us what their experience of that task team has been, whether or not it's effective or even active, and what is happening in Durban. So as the panelists have already been introduced, I think the order that they'll speak in is Lindo. He'll start and give us his input on what's been happening in eKhanana and his take on things as a chairperson of the commune. We'll then go to Mbali, who'll speak about her experience of representing Abahlali in these criminal matters that they often get caught up in. And then we'll end off with Nokuthula Mabaso, who'll tell us about her work at New Frame and what writing on Abahlali has meant in documenting their story. And then we'll open up for discussion. Thanks.
Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Amos Benzi, long live.
Long live.
Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Ayanda Ngila, long live.
Long live.
Long live the undying spirit of Comrade Nokuthula Mabaso, long live.
Long live.
Amanda. Qina mhlali qina. Forward to socialism, forward. Forward to communism, forward. Revolutionary greetings, comrades. I don't know whether I should speak in Zulu or... Okay. My name is Lindo Ngoni, the chairperson of eKhanana Commune, which is a branch that is under Abahlali Basemjondolo, which is a social movement that was founded in 2005 by shack dwellers themselves. It was founded in Kennedy Road, so it is not a political party, but it's a social movement that is involved in politics. So abahlali basemjondolo, their vision, we are struggling to build a just and equal society based on respect and dignity for all humankind. So we want to achieve an egalitarian society where everyone will be treated as equal, where women will be treated as equal, where women will feel safe. So our mission is to improve the lives and living conditions of shareholders and poor in South Africa. That is the movement that we are part of. So therefore, as eKhanana, we are obliged to follow that vision. So it is also our vision for that egalitarian society. eKhanana was founded in 2018 by people who were living around Mayville. So when it was started, we were not part of abahlali basemjondolo. We occupied an unused land. As we know that in South Africa, there's a crisis of land. We have political freedom, but economically we are not free. We do not have freedom. Those who were owning land prior 1994, they are still the ones who own land. So it is the same struggle for the black people fighting to have something to plant, something to build their shelters. Can you imagine? We are still fighting to have shelters. So abahlali baseKhanana, or eKhanana was founded on that manner, or for those reasons. When we occupy that land, all those political parties who speak louder about giving back or addressing or redistribution of land, they didn't help us when we cried for help. Even other organizations, they didn't help us. The only movement that had our crying was abahlali basemjondolo. They've assisted us a lot. They took us to court, which is where we managed to secure a court interdict that was preventing the anti-land invasion unity that was evicting us. And anti-land invasion unity is working for eThekwini municipality, which is a municipality that is led by the ANC. So they were the ones who were evicting us. Even today, they want to evict us, but they say they want to expropriate land for the benefit of the people of South Africa. But what they do is contradiction. They say they want to give those who their land were dispossessed, but at the same time, they are the one who are evicting people, black people who have no land, who are fighting for shelters. So through abahlali, with the partnership of Seri, we managed to get a court order. That's how we managed to kick out the anti-land invasion unit. We were able to build stable homes. Just after we got a court order, there were a number of meetings that were convened by the members of the community to decide, because we have resisted, we have passed that phase of struggle. Now we have to develop our place. So that is where we said who we are, and we are Abahlali. And Abahlali, it's people who said enough is enough, we are on our own. So we realized that government is there to help us. If there's anything that we want, or if there's anything to be done, we must not look anywhere, but answers will come from us, solutions will come from us. We must be self-reliant. We must build a living socialism, living communism. That resulted to the formation of communal tuck shop, communal garden, communal poultry, and also communal kitchen, and the creche, and also Frantz Fanon Political School, which is the place where we conduct our own agenda, because we also knew that the education is not neutral. So if you want to liberate yourself, you can't use the education that was constructed by the same system that you want to fight. So to conscientize ourselves and conscientize others, the school was needed. Yeah, so let me be not long, let me end it. So that is eKhanana.
We'll go back to you because we'll speak about maybe the last year or so, right? But maybe we'll hand over to you and you can tell us, Mbali, what your experience has been representing Abahlali and the criminal matters that they've been faced with.
Sanbonan. Ninjan. I wanted to first start greeting you in isiZulu so that we never forget who we are. My name is Mbalenhle Kubheka. Ngokwemvelaphi ngisuke eNkandla, ngizalelwe khona. Kodwa ngabe sengikhula eShowe. Ngoba uma wakha umuzi khona, ngase ngiyofunda eThekwini UKZN, ngenza khona i-law, i-degree yami. La khona ke bese ke sengiqala khona ke umsebenzi. Ngavula inkampani yona lena iKubheka and Associates Law Incorporated ngo-2019. Okay. So briefly, I started engaging with Abahlali in the year 2019, actually. I think maybe it was a blessing in disguise because I have grown with Abahlali the same way that they have also been growing with me. The first matter I had was actually a referral from a close friend of mine from varsity who gave Mr. Zigote my numbers. She said, if you need someone who's going to deal with something efficiently in court, I have someone for you. That was Umhlali, based in Pinetown. And then after that, it continued being a working relationship. At first, as an attorney, you have this division whereby it's just a client, you get there, you do your job, and you collect your fees. But being an attorney, for me, goes way beyond that. I'll tell you one thing. I'm here today because I love human rights, and I'm a constitutional law person. So I question and I challenge things. My mouth is never shut. Therefore, even in criminal matters, you don't just take it by its statutes and what is placed to you. I have had to ask a lot of difficult questions from my colleagues. I have had to go knocking on doors. Some get open, some do not get open. Hence why I always say, even when I placed it in front of everyone, even in eKhanana, Lindo knows, I always maintain the same stance. I will never allow a few rotten potatoes ruin the whole justice system for all of us. Because there's still a few good one of us, from the police officers to the prosecutors, to the detectives, to the attorneys, to everyone. A tainted image does not necessarily mean that all hope is lost for. Some of us are still here and we're still fighting. And it's been very difficult, I won't lie. At a point it became emotionally taxing also for me, because you start building a working relationship. I now know abahlali, especially eKhanana. I engage with them. You know, I get to be the one who goes down and greet them in the morning when they are arrested, you know, so that they can see. They ask me who's there outside, and I tell them, your family is all there, you know. So I'm the first person they see when they are incarcerated, and I'm the last person they would have to see when they need to say goodbye, you know. And I ended up having a very conducive working relationship with them, so much so that I even spoke about this at May Nokuthula's memorial. I was heartbroken, because the relationship that I now have with abahlali, they all have my number. You all call me. It's not just abaseKhanana. You call me because I have something that is of beneficial to you. You can come with the answer, but I will place the answer for you. You know, that is my stance with working with abahlali. Hence why even when they were conducting meetings and the other fractions would come and be assaulting them, they would immediately inform me. I can say I lived through the death of Ayanda Ngila, because I knew what happened from the time they started being assassinated till he drew his last breath, because I myself was on the other end of the telephone holding on and trying to make calls to the police officers. I know how Miss Nokuthula Mabaso drew her last breath, because I was on the phone until 11 o'clock with Mr. Zikote. We were calling tirelessly until he called me and said, "Mbali, put down the phone, she is no more." So for me, it's no longer about just merely going to court and stating what I have to do. For me now, I'm now working with Siri. Siri is also now guiding me and looking at how are these people's rights being violated. Because the mere fact that getting arrested is a violation on its own. They were in custody for 6 months, a good 6 months in custody. As soon as they came out, more cases kept being added. And I asked them, how can you keep arresting abahlali when you know I am the attorney on record, whether they are the accused, whether they are the complainants? Because now working with abahlali has challenged me to go above and beyond my job description. I'm no longer just a defense attorney at times. Sometimes I have to be watching brief. I need to become part of the state. Do you understand? So now I have to shift and do all of those things. And I'll be asking, how can you then say you want Mnguni when you know very well that if you think that you cannot find or get a hold of Mnguni, you call me, I will locate him, and we will do the due ends of justice properly. You cannot just take people and arrest them whilst investigating. When you arrest people, that's when your investigations are somewhat complete in order to place a crime on them. Not just assumptions, you know, and that's what we've been working on for the past 3 years now. I have worked on numerous amounts of cases, and it's not because I'm the super great attorney or I'm doing extra big miracles, but it's because when you know and you believe in what you're fighting for, you will always succeed. And when I say you will always succeed, it doesn't mean that you will win that case, because today I might not have won. Like how I always say, we lost someone, but the following day, an order was granted in our favor. Someone remained in custody. Someone who had been violating and terrorizing the community for a long time. But a soul had to be lost. So in the end, who won? No one won between the both of us. Him being there doesn't bring back anyone else here, you know. So I'm very fortunate. And one thing I always tell them is that in order for us as abahlali, I say us as abahlali because I've grown to know you guys and I have grown to learn a whole lot about all of you. You know, I take my time to actually master, because this is a big organization and I can't just take it by one piece. I cannot wait only for Babzikote to inform me that, Mbali, there's something going on here in Johannesburg. Go assist Siri. You know, we have to now be proactive. Like Mguni just mentioned, that we have to now tell ourselves we will provide the answers. We will sit together, all of us, and work towards getting answers. Because an attorney is only an attorney in name until they have people like you who are going to be able to guide them and give them also the mental and spiritual support that comes. I feel it every time you guys try something, the whole singing, that's a revival. Because some people think that also attorneys, we just blank, but you know, I don't know. I'm human rights. You know, I'm in a question. That's all I'm here to do. I'm here to question and question until someone gives us the right answers. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go to Nomfundo, who'll tell us about her work at New Frame. And in fact, I must say, anytime after an Abahlali press statement, it's a Nomfundo article that I'll read to get the facts quite instantly in that order. So it's press statement, then Nomfundo, and then, you know, then I start looking around and finding more stuff, and we do all of that. But yeah, I'll hand over to you.
Thank you so much. Amandla Bahlali. Yeah, thank you. So good to see the Zigote settlement again. Thank you for the opportunity to the Forge. I don't know. I suppose for me right now, it's just a situation where I'm actually accepting that Usis Nokuthula is not with us. It's like the first time, even I've written extensively, you know, about her, but now I realize that, you know, because I'm looking back, you know, since eKhanana started in 2018, you know, I was there when they still lived in plastics and like, yeah, and they were like constantly being evicted. It for me at that time, I mean, I didn't think they'd survive because I didn't know, you know, anybody who would put on so much and take on so much when, you know, you could alternatively, like we always think, you could alternatively go back home, you know, why are you guys there? Which is essentially the responses that they get from the municipality, the police, the securities. Why are you here? Go away. It's essentially rejection. And I guess to a certain point, because a lot of eKhanana settlement residents are young people, so I immediately resonated with them because they were literally my age. Even though, you know, I was a very junior journalist at that time, you know, but I could resonate with them because I'm also a black person, opuma myself, so I know I could have been there. I'm not special, but you know, they're there and they're really taking on the resistance. I suppose the resistance for me was, you know, courage, because you could see that they have great ideologies. They don't want to be sleeping or staying in slums. Nobody wants to do that. But you need land, and we know with urban policies, they've pushed people aside. Black people, poor black people, are not meant to belong. They don't. They're cast aside. They have no space, no place, no identity, no economy. They can't connect to anything. They are rejected, and they literally sleep in the corners on the edge of the city, a city that, you know, is essentially built by, you know, their fathers and their forefathers, and even them, you know, they have no space either way. So I suppose from 2018, like I was mentioning, we like Mbali is saying, we grew together because, you know, you could see that there's something wrong, there's something not adding up, because, I mean, I'm a journalist, but I could have been any other journalist, maybe, you know, covering certain things, but I suppose I didn't choose to discuss or talk about spatial inequality or the geographical context that we cannot ignore, because essentially we can't ignore it everywhere you go. I was from a rural area. It's not that rural, but coming into the city to study journalism, you immediately see it. You immediately see that you, as a black poor person, are rejected. You are not needed. You are scary. People are scared of you. They don't need you there. It's written all over the walls. I mean, people don't need to say it, because look at where they stay, because space, places, and identity go together. And if you're living in somewhere where you don't connect or identify with, and nobody cares even to give you lights or water or toilets or dignity, or at least a chance, because I mean, eKhanana, essentially, that's what, they're about. They had a chance. They had free land, it's beautiful land, and they knew what they wanted to do with it. They had a plan. That's a chance, but they're not given the chance. Instead, that chance is made by repression, which, obviously goes, if you delve deeper into it, then you see that there's a whole lot of things, like obviously the geographical, spatial inequality that's still there. It hasn't moved. We know that people are still living in hostels. The same people are still living in hostels. The same people are still growing and dying in informal settlements. And people are still in townships living in cramped homes and still getting development in the same spaces. But people are cramped. People have no sense of dignity or identity, which means there's no culture or solidarity. But at least, sorry, with abahlali eKhanana particularly, because like I said in the beginning, you could see the sense of solidarity, the same ideas that they had. They slept together in a hall for as long as I could remember. They ate together. They did things that, a lot of us would think, oh, it's so rural, why is this going on? Even people in townships or urban areas are not doing. But anyway, I suppose I took courage in that, because obviously they also accepted me in the community, because I mean, working, in marginalized spaces, there's also that sense of disconnect with people such as journalists or the media, because obviously the depiction of abahlali, of people who are poor, asikho sihle isithombe sisibonayo. Saziwa njengabantu abahluphekile, abangcolile, abanodlame, izinto ezingekho zinhle. So immediately when a journalist comes through, it's like, ufunani, uzosiza ngani, another one, So it's also, I mean, it's also humbling in that way. Uguti, you get to grow and understand, the essence of life is, basically, because it's all in solidarity. It's all in the efforts that, that eKhanana are trying, which essentially is to survive with dignity and actually show people that, the government particularly, that if we have space, this is what we can do. This is what we deserve. This is what we can do. Also showing other communities, like they're doing, that we can actually do this. We can actually live by ourselves, produce our own food, and have a sense of dignity without having to lease land, because the commodification of land obviously is not helping. So I mean, I suppose the principles of, residents of eKhanana are a model, and we need to learn more. And, essentially you can see that it's a community that's really trying. It's a community that's deserving, and it's a peaceful community of young people who are really trying, their best, and all they need is space and chance, which is essentially why they're dying. They're dying for a sense of space and place and belonging. Like Usis Nokuthula Mabaso. I knew her from when I started working with eKhanana communities, and she was always the oldest, obviously, so she was the leader. So anything that was happening, she knew, So when they took her, and I realized, that, the government really is failing women, black women, poor black women particularly. I mean, I'm not putting aside all the other, activists that have died at all, but when you see a black woman dying for land, dying for belonging, then you really ask that, what's really going on? What's really going on, and why is anything happening? Which means the level of priority for poor black women is here. It doesn't matter, and it won't matter if we don't stop talking about it, which is essentially my role. Which I'm trying to do is essentially not stop talking about it. Make sure people know about it. Make sure that they know that we are heard, they are heard, we see them. We appreciate what they're trying to do. And essentially, the more noise we make, hopefully, things will change. That's essentially my role. It's what I continue to do with other settlements around KZN, where I'm based, and somewhere in Gauteng. So I've also, been around a few settlements here, just trying to tell more of these stories. It's not sad stories at all. You should not feel pity. I don't feel pity. Instead, I take from that, I take courage, because it's essentially, it could have been me, like I said. But anyway, you it's not a sense of pity, but you just highlight humanity, like Umbali was saying, that these are people. They have talent, they have beautiful talent. They just need dignity and a sense of, to be acknowledged, because, the rejection is appalling now. It's appalling, and it's destructive, and it's deadly, because a lot of people are dying still, people are threatened. He can't even go back to eKhanana anymore, and that was his home. eKhanana was his hope, and he fought for it, but he can't be there anymore. So what are we doing in the end? If a young man who grew up in a rural area, where obviously it's going to push him to the city because there's no resources, there's poverty, it's appalling. So obviously it's going to push him to the city, but the city is rejecting him. And now, it's a lot of questions, but my role really is just to write more about it, and highlight all those voices as much as I can. Thank you.
The speakers were quite brief, actually. So I'm gonna take advantage of the little gap before I hand over to the floor. You were speaking, Nomfundo. What you did right now was put together two opposites. Honestly, you've painted a very gruesome picture. I by mistake came across, because I work at Siri, Mabaso's autopsy report. 7 bullets is what she suffered, right? But at the same time, you're speaking about eKhanana as a model for other settlements. What possibilities there are if people are given the opportunity. And I wonder, any of you can maybe speak to it, perhaps Lindo and you, Nomfundo, speak a little bit about what it means for eKhanana today, tomorrow, next week, living under the kind of threat that they're facing and trying to maintain the commune, right? I would think of what's happening in eKhanana as an effective eviction. Scare them enough so that they leave. Enough bodies will drop before they eventually scatter. And then eKhanana's no more, right? Then we don't have that. But people there now need to keep up the morale. And they're living in fear. You're living in fear. Your leaders are now exiled. And you're living with trauma. You've seen people dying in quick succession. Since 2018, we were doing a count. I think my current count is wrong, but between 7 and 8 people have been killed in relation to eKhanana. 4 of them were prominent leaders in the community. So how do we hold these two things, the hope of maintaining what you have, because so much of what Abahlali is about and a core of their model is holding the land. So beyond occupying it and fighting for it and keeping it, you really need to stay. I remember speaking to one woman who said, if you think Abahlali is going to do it for you, they're not. If you're not going to, after every eviction, rebuild, there's nothing Abahlali can do for you. So it's about really holding the fort in the face of unrelenting, brutal, precarious violence. How do you maintain a community that you're the chairperson of? At the same time, you're not there.
Mhlamba siqale ukubonga for lo mbuzo loyo. Akukho lula, but okusizayo ukuthi mhlasa sithatha isinqumo ukuzibandakanya kulomzabalazo lo. Sasingeve sabantu abangazi ukuthi senzani, but we were very conscious, we were very aware of the challenges and the success. We knew that there will be a time where we have to sleep in prison. We knew that we will lose some of our comrades. So, kwizikhathi ezifana nalezi, lezo zinto lezi izona ezisisizayo ukuqhubeka, because when we committed ourselves, since from the beginning, we knew from the start ukuthi kuzokwenzeka lokhu, kwenzeke lokhu. Esanda nje kudlula emhlabeni uMabaso, indodakazi yakhe uNomfundo Mhlongo uyabhala ke kuWhatsApp uthi, we knew that in the struggle akuquleka kuyafiwa. We knew ukuthi kukhona abanye abasazofa. But njengoba sekwenzekile nje kuma asizuyeka, but we'll continue with the struggle. Nomfundo, she's between 20 and 25. She's a young comrade. And ukhuluma kanjalo nje uma wakhe lo shonile. Because our struggle is a constant trauma, and we are immune to pain. We have developed a hard shell. Wathi Thomas Sankara, to be a revolutionary, you need to have a little madness, because there's no one who's rightful in his or her mind angathebuka kufa abantu phambi kwakhe ebese naye aqhubeka hlala. So we knew the price that we have to pay. I remember when we were in prison, January, we used to hold several meetings. Myself, Comrade Ayanda, may his soul rest in peace, and Comrade Lindo, that we knew that we will be arrested one day. It's a phase of struggle. So it looked like we are winning that phase. We are passing this phase. So they will know that their strategy to keep us behind bars is not working. The only choice they will be left with is to kill us. but we won't stop. We used to cancel each other several times, because even in the times of the assassination of Comrade Ayanda, I was deeply hurt, I can't lie. But at the same time, I managed to survive because of the things that we discussed before. We used to talk a lot about death because we knew very well that someday luck won't be on our side. They will kill us. He even said it's socialism or death, because we want it, no matter what it takes. No matter what it takes, even if it means death. Because we can't really continue living in these inhuman conditions. If there's anyone to raise up and stand for all these injustices, if it means it must be us, so be it. So we won't surrender, no matter what circumstances we come up with. We can't surrender. We have taken a decision, we have taken a commitment. This is what we want. They have taken us for granted. If we had 9 reasons to struggle, now we have more than 9 reasons to struggle, because we have to do it for Comrade Ayanda Ngila, we have to do it for Comrade Mdluli, we have to do it for Comrade Nokuthula Mabaso, we have to do it for Steve Biko, because eKhanana, abahlali basemjondolo, we are deeply influenced by him. If you look at Black Consciousness, they are the PPC, and look at abahlali basemjondolo and look at eKhanana. You will see Steve Biko there. Steve Biko lives. He's one of the reasons why we continue, because we want to send a message to those who killed him, that even if you manage, you succeed to kill him, but he's still alive. His ideas are still alive. Therefore, we have to do it for Comrade Ayanda, for Comrade Mabaso. We can't surrender. We can't stop now. We have to do it for them. So that is what keeps us going. We knew from the beginning. We know about Patrice Lumumba. Some of us in the eKhanana, they know few history. We know about Sankara. We know about Comrade Che. We know about Solomon Mahlangu. We know about all those comrades that they have assassinated by the system of oppression. So if we say we are taking the socialism route, it is inevitable to not meet an opposing force. So the only job that we have, we must develop our own way on how to defend our struggle, because the opposing force is not playing. They are out for war. Because what we do, we are sibanyathela einyaweni. Sinyathela interest yabo. eKhanana is a beautiful community. If you can look around in informal settlement, it's not, I'm not boasting, but it is an example. If you look on other informal settlements, we had the vision since from the beginning. that, okay, we have occupied this land, we must have enough space for our children to have space to play, to grow. We must have passages. Everyone must have access to road. And we must ensure that our place, it is not a place for us for shelter, because human being is not complete without having something to eat, without having a place to actually have something to eat. Even we even developed our own revolutionary culture. We have decided to do away with those cultures, with those values that they are custodians of this very system that is oppressing us. When you visit eKhanana and you find whether there's a ceremony, you won't notice the gender segregation. You will find men and women eat on the same pot. There is no room for patriarchy. Akunasithebe samadoda, akunasithebe sabantu besifazane, kunesithebe somuntu, kunesithebe sabantu. We see each other as human beings. We took a decision that in our community, we will never tolerate gender-based violence. If you can interview women of eKhanana, they will tell you if there's anyone who has been hit by a man. It was in 2018, because we took a commitment that in our community there is no man that is allowed to lay a hand on a woman, regardless of the relationship they have, even if you are married. When you take a decision to hit a woman, you have invited us as the community to intervene. And you have taken a decision. You have taken a decision to voluntarily evict yourself from the community, because we can't keep you, because what you teach, the young ones are looking. We want to create a new culture. Even on the funeral of Comrade Nokuthula Mabaso, perhaps some might have noticed a different thing. Our culture doesn't permit women to carry, yes, doesn't. But Nokuthula Mabaso and eKhanana women and the community at large, we took a decision that our comrades, we want them even on their last day on earth. Women must be included, because they are fully human beings too. They too can carry a casket. So that is our revolutionary culture. So how can you stop such beautiful thing? No, let me stop here.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll open to the floor if there are any questions.
Good evening, everybody. It is so heartbreaking listening to you, my brother, when you're saying your friends that were within in the struggle, they're gone now. And if I got you right, you are in some kind of exile, also knowing that at any time, if they get to you, you are also gone. How does it feel when you look at your children? What are your dreams for your children? What do you tell your children every day? What is it that you want, for your kids? Because we do what we do for our kids. We wake up very early in the morning, till the whole day for our children. Our children are our lives. So I wonder how you feel and what you tell your children. The second question, I just wanted to find out, how is life in the informal settlements, especially after the floods? And what are the lessons learned, when it comes to even constructing your houses, so that they're not easily flooded? Thank you.
No, thanks a lot, comrade, for that question. Che Guevara, he said, when he was talking about his family, he said, he's not concerned that much about his family. He's concerned about the struggle, because he trusts that through the struggle, his family will be taken care of. He said, if I die, my comrades will see what they will do about his children. As I've said, for you to continue be a revolutionary, you need to possess that little madness. Because as you have mentioned, what we do for our families, our children. For my family, it is not fair, because I don't have time, or I don't have enough time for them. Because I have that belief, or let me just say, I'm personally sick and tired of the situation that not only my family and my neighbors, but the black community and even human beings or working class at large that find themselves in. If I invest my time taking care of my family, the only problem that I will solve is my family, but not the working class problem. Why it is important for us, because this is not only my belief and other eKhanana comrades. Why we focus so much on building community or society than our homes. It's because we have that belief that if we have managed or successfully made a positive contribution in the community, ngisho kuthiwa asisekho thina, kodwa if kukuthi umphakathi esushile sishiye umphakathi ophilayo, imindeni yethu iyokwazi ukuqhubeka iphile. But if kukuthi siyesa focusa kuyona noma ingaphila, just like ingane yakho, if ufocus kuyona kuyifundiseni kahle, ungayifundisa kahle, but mayiphuma iphumele emphakathini, will get influence from kwezinye ingane zabazali abangayifundisanga kahle ingane zabo. So umsebenzi owenzayo kuzoba a temporary victory. But if kukuthi usebenze ekugqugquzeleni ushintsho kumphakathi wonke, automatically nezingane zakho will benefit, zizoshintsheka, and leyo victory leyo kuzoba victory for a long term. Angazi noma kuyazwakala yini, but kuzoba victory for a long term. If it is wealthy, it will be a generational wealth. Because if kuyimina for umndeni wami kuphela, uzoba right umndeni wami, but uphile emphakathini, if uphila kwi society egulayo, kuyafana. But on top of that, we know that this is the price we have to pay. As I've mentioned before, that some of us, we know history a little bit. Just look at the story of Thomas Sankara, what he did for Burkina Faso, and what materials he had when he died. He had it was a guitar, a bicycle, no muzongekes main. And that is our daily life and daily experience. Lapa eKhanana, and as some of us as Abba Holy. We currently have nothing. We have sacrificed with everything. We do not have something to put on top of the table for our families. We do not go to work. We do not get salary month end. Sometimes you even struggle. If you have partner, you struggle to have even money to buy airtime for your partner. That's how we have sacrificed. But we will stop. No, we won't stop. We will continue. Because we believe kulento esiyenzayo, and we have absolute faith ngayo. If kukuthi sife our goals engaka achieve, mhlambe in 20 years bayoqhamuka abanye abayoqhubeka nomzabalazo because into esiyenzayo ifana ne relay. uSteve Biko washona ngo-1977, but now bakhona abanye abakhuluma ngaye, bakhona abakhuluma ngomzabalazo wakhe, ngomzabalazo wabo. It does the most difficult thing about struggling, the kind of struggle that we are conducting, is akukho lula, and it takes long. How long does it take? As long as it takes. And that's the beauty of it. Akusiyona into ka 10 years noma 20 years. Nobody knows. But if kukuthi umzabalazo wethu uyaphumelela, even nabo o Steve Biko, nabo o Malcolm X, nabo o Frantz Fanon, labe khona bayosho ukuthi into ababelwela, at last it is achieved. I don't know whether I'm making sense, but yeah, bese kuzoba indaba yama floods. Indaba yama floods yebo kona ashaye abanemali nabangenamali, but ikakhulukazi we suffered a lot as a working class. Ikakhulukazi ki working class le ehlala eMjondolo. Kunale narrative ebenziwa uhulumeni ethi abantu abamuke kakhulu ingenxa leMjondolo yakhiwe eduzane kwemfula. And we are very opposed to leyo nto leyo. But but niyababona ke labantu baseMjondolo into esasiyikhuza abanangqondo. How can you sasiloke sisho ukuthi msana kwakha eduze kwemfula? But if you go to Enanda, angilikhumbuli kahle igama lakhona, but kuse alemsenhlungwane. If ufika lapha ama-RDP houses, ama-RDP houses akhiwa uba uhulumeni. Akephi aphahle umfula. Lawo besiwabona bengazi ukuthi kuyi advert ku TV, but those structures were built by your government. And indaba yama floods nokushayeka kanje kwethu singabantu ikakhulukazi abahlala eMjondolo, it's not our negligence, but ikuhluleka kukahulumeni, because why abantu bezithola sebakha emfuleni? Ingoba umhlaba awukho. We are being pushed away emadolobheni. And uzubone, if kukuthi wakha within the city, hayi eduze komfula, they will send anti-land invasion unit now and then. Angeke uzulithola ithuba lokwakha. But if uyokwakha ngaseduze kwemfula, uyokwakha phansi kwama bridge, wakhe le endaweni abanganandaba nazo, they won't come to evict wena. Because indawo wakha kuyona indawo vele abangekho interested kuyona. Indawo vele abathi asambe siyocasha kuyona singabonakali. So if singabantu abamnyama singabantu abahluphekayo abahlushekisiwe besinayo access emhlabeni uba njengoba umuntu osile ongahamba wakhe emfuleni ekubeni kunomhlaba akekho, but those are conditions that are created by the system, by uhulumeni esizithola singabantu abahluphekayo esikuyona. Abanye basahlala emaholo la kade bakhe khona kugugulekile abazi ukuthi bayiphi. So isimo ke leso esiphila ngaphansi kwaso. So ya angime lapha ngazi noma khona nombuzo engushilo.
Mhlawumbe nami ngicela ukubuza kancane comrade. Umbuzo wami ukambali. Bese umunye kube okaNomfundo. Mbali bengicela ukubuza ngendaba yomthetho uzosho la ngeke kwazi mhlawumbe ukukhuluma khona ukuthi isimo simi kuphi nendawo manje usithi usisiqaphu kancane ukuthi isimo simi kuphi kuma comrades lawa anjengomaphiwe abanye abashiselwe izindlu abanye aba-attackwa abantu abanye okuthiwa abavumelekile ukuthi babuyele eKhanana zonke nje lezo zinto ezenzeka la uthi nje kafushane nje ukuthi isimo siphi kuphi lokho ngakusho njengamanje ngokomthetho bese kuthi umunye umbuzo kubewe okaNomfundo Nomfundo ngiyazi ukuthi iningi archive onayo ngendaba yaseKhanana kunendawo mhlawumbe ingekho manje idiliziwe neshisiwe imuphi mhlawumbe uhlelo nalo ngale footage onayo ama photographs ne videograph yonke yaseKhanana nakwamanye ama occupation uliphi uhlelo nalo mhlawumbe I documentary or yini mhlawumbe enye plan ukuyenza ngalokho and abantu abafisayo noma mhlawumbe exhibition mhlawumbe abanye abantu abafisayo kuma comrades nalawa la afisa ukuyibona lonto leyo material angayibona kanjani ukuhamba kwesikhathi. So ngiyabonga.
I also had two questions for Mbali and Nomfundo. So maybe answer them together because I'm looking at the time. The question for you, Mbali, is what are you finding your experience is about navigating the courts at the moment? What is your experience of the police who are supposed to be investigating, the prosecutors and the magistrate? Because I think a lot of social movements have, public violence charges, those kind of things. These people are facing murder, attempted murder. Like, these are crazy things, and you need to get them out. What are you finding navigating the courts? And then, Nomfundo, my question for you is about what is your process? So when you, and I'm speaking quite pragmatically, what is your process when something's happened and you're like the first or one of the first people there to tell the story? Can you maybe just walk us through what doing your work is like, walking alongside Abahlali as you document their experiences? Thank you.
Okay, like I said before, for me, I have had to stretch myself. When I mean stretch myself, I have had to be a defense attorney. I remember the last bail that I had was the one that we did for Ayanda Ngila, Lindo, Mapiwe Kasela, and Landu Chazi. That one frustrated me so much because one, I just gotten them out from like 6 months in custody. 2, there's all these crazy charges being placed against them. You're finding minor offenses. You're finding that you get into court. Let me not say minor offenses because every offense is not minor. You get to court. The wheels of justice dictate that when you get them, the prosecutor, the senior prosecutor will have a look at the docket after what the detective has submitted. and then ascertain, is this person a suitable candidate for bail or not? Let me just say that's the first starting line. All candidates are suitable candidates, because the rules of justice say that you do not have to be in custody in order for them to finish the investigations or anything of that sort. But with the matters that I had, I remember one that we did with May Nokuthula. They were charged for assault, GBH. When I got to court, the matter was unopposed. I even checked with my colleagues, because they are my colleagues, from the police officers to the magistrates, they are my colleagues. I checked, no, bail is not opposed. These people, this is a Schedule 1 offense. These people are first-time offenders. They don't have any previous convictions, no pending matters. May Nokuthula, one, she even had a child who is mentally not okay. She's got a minor child. It was 5 or 6 ladies, if I'm not mistaken, my peer and them included. So one of the main factors was that these people have got minor children that they're looking after. And knowing especially how the eKhanana livelihood system works, you know that it's the males that go and work. The women stay behind and take care of everything. So if the women are not there, that means who's there to take care of even these men who have gone and looked for work? Bail was opposed. It had to become a formal bail hearing. I had to run around collecting affidavits, having them commissioned, so much so that we had to place even the alleged complainants into the box to testify. I can talk freely about this because this one is already a matter that was finalized, but you know, and it then begs the question, what is going on? You know, my colleagues are confused. I never want to place them in a bad light. They themselves are confused. You know, how am I supposed to oppose bail when Ms. Kopega, everything is in your favor? It has become a struggle. My bag, I was telling Lindo today, I think you guys need to buy me a separate bag just for abahlali and then leave the other one for all my other clients, because it's full now. It's full. You can't do anything with that sort. So with courts, it's always a stretch. Currently, we are working on a lot of cases. We've finalized a few. Well, I finalized a few as per the court proceedings. Some I've asked for them to be retracted again, because you know some were just closed off and stating that they weren't able to ascertain any evidence, but only to find that you know they haven't spoken to any of the complainants. They haven't interviewed anyone. No investigation is taking place. So now I have to jump into that pool and make these affidavits so that you know these matters all see themselves to finality, including one that you're mentioning from the one with my peer. That one recently got called back from court. They said that the evidence, the statements there. So I then had to then go back, interview, and ask them why haven't they spoken to the abahlali, because they at your disposal. If you need them for whether they need it as a suspect or whether they need it as a witness or whether they need it as a complainant, call me. You know, I will then advise Mr. Zugodo, or I will then advise any of the community leaders, because I know they already have a distrust towards the government and police officials. So now I must act as a media person, because if I don't, nothing's gonna happen. Justice will not be sought. The last bail hearing that we did, Mguni is also he's a complainant in that matter for attempted murder, because when Ayanda Ngila was assassinated, they were together at that time. So now we had to sit down, strategize, you know, look at the loopholes from either all sides. I had to bring them out from Limpopo, and I told them, I was like, guys, listen, there's so much that I can do. But in order for you to actually get this, I need you to step forward. I need you to become known witnesses, because see what happened. They didn't think that you guys were back, and then Ms. Mabaso got assassinated the night before. You came as a surprise on Friday morning. Everyone was surprised when they saw you there. But it raised also the community to know that, listen, we are not on our own. We are still fighting. So, like I said, I sit, I strategize, I talk to them, I tell them, guys, we know what goes on. I cannot secure or help the states secure conviction without your assistance. If you don't trust them, trust me. We will find a way in how to work around it. You understand? So I think it cuts into how you asking with the whole court aspects. I literally at 7 o'clock, I'm at the station. Before I start court, I'm at the station harassing the captains, the detectives. By 9 o'clock, I'm at court, harassing the prosecutors there, the control prosecutors. I'm running around. I've even learned how to run around in high heels, because it's something that you must tell yourself. You have to keep pushing. And also one thing that I also learned, we are also ignorant. When I say we are ignorant, we know the law, but we do not know the socio-economic injustices and everything else that flows from the law. I say this because when I first started, a lot of people would be like, "Yindaba, you just want free things," And unfortunately for them, they get answers from me. Like I will put you in a place. But also I saw that I needed to educate them, because if a person of my caliber, a person who's supposed to be an officer of the court, would ask me a question in that sense, why are these people always here? Yo, passage, they don't understand. For you guys, when there's an injury to one is an injury to all. How you guys live means that when others are not there to support, you must be there to support. So for them, they think that it's not a nice place sitting there in court for the whole day, just to see Lindo coming up for 5 minutes and being told to go down again. But also when that person takes their glance at the back and they see you, they get that strength from, So there are certain things, and like you said, when you said death is inevitable, I even myself started questioning. I fight so hard to get these results. I put 150 of my foot forward, only to have my clients assassinated 2 weeks after. Then the court does not ask them, "Ms. Kopega, maybe you should stop fighting so hard. Maybe you should just leave them in prison." But if I leave them in prison, then that's me now no longer fighting for another socio-economic rights of theirs. So in the end, like I said, no one gets to win unless we are all a collective. And with, like Mgunu, what he's saying, well, for me, threats, it's I didn't choose law. Law chose me. I've always loved being a lawyer. I chose history when I was still in grade 8 and grade 10. Even when my parents wanted me to do science and all of that, history is so old. Why would you still want to do history? Oh, Marie Antoinette, they'd say, But I already knew what I wanted to become. I wanted to become a voice. I wanted to become the voice that gets heard, because one thing that we as people fail to understand is that there are some things that you gain along in life, and there are some things that become bestowed upon you. You cannot change or run away from them. He has leadership instilled in him. Therefore, his family takes a back seat. The community is forward. He gets so many threats, and in all of it, that's the main person that they want. I want the community, I want the world to know this is the person that they want. Should anything happen, this is the person that they want. And all their claims and everything, and in all the evidence also that I have, this is the person that they want. Where is your father, Umgun? We want him. We will bring him out of hiding. We will bring this and this and that, because he is becoming a voice not only for eKhanana, but a voice for everyone, the whole of Abahlali. I told my learned colleagues, I told my magistrates, I'm like, one thing I can tell you about my clients, as much as Behlale Mjondolo, They're very well conversed and educated people. I get to learn so much from all of you guys. Like he said, it is very clean. You get to pick up very different things. You get to learn different things also yourself that enable you when to get to courts, you're able to navigate and talk freely and in depth and vastly about something because you have also given yourself the time to actually know what is it about abahlali basemjondolo that keeps creating so much noise in South Africa.
I think the question was about what I'm going to be doing or what I plan to do with the information that I have on eKhanana. I think I haven't really processed in future, what I because it's a continual process at the moment. I've just been documenting and trying to tell the story and reporting, just making sure that the story doesn't die because people forget easily. We forgot 450 people died last year. We forgot 450 more people died just 2 months ago. So people forget. But if you're talking about, like Umgun is saying, you're talking about something generational, something that it's glaring. You can't ignore what's going on. You can't ignore that there's no space, there's no land, and the question of land and the matters of land are being thrown under the carpet. They've been commodified. They're in secrets, and they're deadly. That's the disappointing part because. Ironically, it's Youth Month. It raises a lot of memories as well. But I'm sure, the people, the activist Umgun is talking about, Abo Fanon, Abo Obigo. They knew, that in the end, it be your own, and you have to expect that. And death is part of it, but you never get used to it, obviously. But. So at the moment, I haven't even thought because I'm also hoping. eKhanana, you're hoping it's gonna stop, because everybody wants to see eKhanana thrive. It's in essence the name. We really want it to be alive, So you're kind of hoping eKhanana iyafika, sizoyithola, sizoyibona. But the more it progresses, the harder it becomes. More bodies are being dropped, and it's disheartening at some stages. But at the moment, I'm trying to disseminate the information and make sure it's out there firstly, and that their memories live on and their ideologies live on because they are legitimate and they deservingly. So, in the process of writing also, I've been doing some videos, I've also been making sure that, particularly with the last 2 assassinations, that, there's visuals there, we see it, we remember them, we see what they've been doing, and some documentaries I've done before, but, we haven't particularly unpacked what eKhanana means and the suppression that it actually exemplifies. So I suppose, Mulela, it might be encouragement for me to think about that, maybe in future, make sure that I do own the narrative and I tell it the way I know it, the way I've seen it, and deservingly so. But at the moment, I think, I've been trying to write about it as much as I can in its current form. But going back, I definitely, I'll try and do something about it when, we get there. I think it's also just a process at the moment. We can't be exhibiting about eKhanana because they're going through it at the moment, but all we can do is obviously keep reminding and showing people what's going on, because it's alarm. It's not just eKhanana or in Cato Manor, in Durban, in KZN, but essentially it resonates with the nation, because it's young people, it's young black people, it's young women, it's children. It represents a whole 77.4% of young people are living in similar situations. So it's not an uncommon thing that we can keep pushing under the carpet or keep pushing next to the rivers. Yeah, but yeah, coming to your question about my process, like for example, the two recent assassinations were quite shocking, mostly because the two people were quite personal. I've known them, I've known their work, and I've been with them. Usis Nokuthula, we had planned to see each other because it was during the floods, just after that, you know, because I was worried. Everybody gets worried. You could see what happened to eKhanana, you know, do they still have the garden? Because wow, they have a garden. Do they still have the poultry? And you know, she mentioned, you know, no, you can come through and see, let's talk about it. You know, they were planning on doing more. She had just came back, you know, and she had so much hope because all that they were fighting for, Nagaseko, like you're saying, the main leader is not there, the women were not there, everybody who's at the forefront, Obama people were not there, they were vulnerable. So she was also worried when she came back, but she had so much hope that no, we're going to bring this back, the garden is going to be fine, the chickens were coming back, they had collected the chickens back, so there was so much hope, you know, and I suppose my process comes through the way I can see them coping. Like Umguni, his personal friend died and he saw him die. I only came there a few hours. As traumatic as that was, I didn't see him die. I didn't see my friend, you know, who I've been struggling with, die in front of me. But immediately then they'll tell you, no, we're going to go on. And I suppose, I mean, there's something to take away wherever you're from, whichever class you're from, particularly, you know, solidarity is important because if you can see that they're going on, they want to go on, then you see how important this means. Surely they can see how important this is. People want land. People are being killed for land by politicians, by known people. What is the justice doing? Instead, it's threatening the very same people that are trying to fight. Umbali has been threatened for fighting. So you understand that at this juncture, the justice versus the contemporary South Africa, where we've been misled, because I mean, it's what, 27 years into it, we were promised, but seemingly if people are being killed for the very same reasons that people, Obo Steve, were talking about back then, it's quite disappointing, it's disheartening, but you know, you move. Like I was saying, I've only now just processed Usis Nokuthula's death, but I've been writing about her, just making sure that her memory lives on. But like Umgwini was saying, you gotta, at some point you become immune to it, because you know there's a bigger problem, there's a bigger issue. If I'm crying and breaking down, because I was internally, you know, but you gotta make sure that if you crumble, if the leaders crumble, who's gonna lead? Who's gonna keep the relay going? Like you know, he was saying. So you gotta take a step back, I suppose, out of your ego, and just, you know, make sure that, or my role, like I'm saying, is just to make sure that the voices, everybody knows what's going on, essentially, and it's not right. Essentially, it's a social call for everybody, which is pretty much why I was delighted to come here, just to make sure that people know, you know, people should know. It's a social call to support these people, to know that people are dying out there in the 21st century, in 2022, for trying to have land, to stay, eat, function, and be free, essentially in a democratic South Africa, which is crumbling because society doesn't provide for them. They don't care. The government doesn't give them the proper needs. They don't recognize them, which might help, because at least if they're recognized, then they know they belong. But, you know, at least, I suppose, you know, Umbali's presence and maybe media's presence, because, I mean, I can't be the only one writing about informal settlements. You know, it's not supposed to be that way. Everybody in media, anybody who's a journalist, you know, knows the socio-economic issues that are going on. And in order to unpack those, obviously you have to start on the ground. And the people on the ground are the poorest. The poorest are the people living in the informal settlement. There's no beyond that. Like, there's nobody more poorer than people living in informal settlements, no matter how much we debate that. So you have to start somewhere. And I suppose I've been there. I'm stuck there for a while. but I'm growing in a way. I mean, in my perspective of life. I have a child too, and when I get these calls that, oh my God, this one has died now, I have to neglect my parental responsibilities. But it helps because Mabaso, she had kids, and she took care of the whole community, and she died and she left, and they're still fine. And like Umgwini was saying, even her own kids will tell you, no, we will go on. So I mean, eKhanana is just, I suppose, a brink of hope for me at the moment. That's how I cope. At least I know eKhanana is there. They're still living. As long as we have people in the justice system talking about it, people in the media, the relevant people, the same things that were happening in the movements during the apartheid government, we know the elements, we know the tactics, we're using the same things. But now, obviously, it's changed. It's a bit more complex because inside the struggle, there's a struggle. There's people who betray them from the same struggle. I've seen people that were there when it started, like I was saying, they were living in plastic bags. Everybody was struggling. Everybody wanted to tell their stories because they were being evicted, and it was very violent. I saw people there, and I seen people then, the same people on the other side, saying that, these people must get out of here, making the bogus claims, and it's disheartening because I can recognize them. So, I mean, at a certain point, I've had to, I suppose, just remember my role, because I mean, I can't get too personal about it because otherwise I won't do the stories. Otherwise, you won't hear about it. Otherwise, I'll just start crying and crumbling and give up, because essentially that's what it drives you to. You can't be talking about poverty every day. You see it every day, and it's not changing. Instead, it's getting worse. But when you see these people, abahlali, people in young black people trying to fight against the system, abombali, everybody who's noticing, at least it gives you hope. So that's essentially, I don't have a process. I suppose it's all by instinct. Just by welcoming. I mean, abahlali are very welcoming when you obviously come through with positive and true intentions, which essentially my role, like I'm saying, is to tell the stories as they are, as pure and as brutal as they are, because essentially it's our reality. It's our reality everywhere. It's my reality. I can't hide that from my child. She goes there to the informal settlements. She can see that essentially this is the world we're living in. And I suppose it's just reality and depicting reality every single day, hoping that, there's enough momentum from us, because we know that the government now has let us down. We can't rely on them much unless there's a natural disaster or there's a protest or there's a riot. Then there's always reaction and responses to that, which are also violent. So responding to poor people with violence is essentially, incriminate, what do you call it, when you incriminate them through poverty. Essentially they're criminals because they're poor, and so they deserve to be beaten up, to be arrested. That's the only responses they get. They're children, that's what they see. And we can't go on. People need to know nationally, worldwide, people need to know that this is still going on and our government is not doing much. That we shouldn't hide. It's eThekwini municipality is the ones bringing out these people, the security guards that are killing people, and they're not being prosecuted. The police station is not responsive. Everybody knows. How is that normal? How is that normal when you can't rely on your police station? How is that normal when you can't rely on your courts? And it's 2022. So essentially, you just keep talking about it. We keep talking about it, make sure people essentially hear us, so that the stories don't die. At least if it's written down, if it's somewhere, if it's visuals, people will know. For now, those are my only archives. Later on, maybe I'll consider and think about, maybe, I don't know, when I'm older, a book.
Thank you all. I'll apologize firstly. I know we've gone well over time, but I do hope that you've appreciated the conversation as much as I have. Thank you all for the work that you're doing. It is vital. Yeah, I don't have any more words. Thank you so much for making the time to be with us. And that's it.